Debate or not to debate is a complicated question for President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump as they barrel into an 8-month general election. Trump's position. On social media, Trump promised he would debate Biden anytime, anywhere, anyplace. He reiterated that commitment Sunday, telling Fox News that he would do it anytime, anyplace, and would even debate minutiae. It is a bold claim that is not backed up by Trump's record. He failed to participate in any of the Republican National Committee-sponsored primary debates in this election cycle. He's also the only modern, major party nominee to back out of a general election debate during the pandemic 4 years ago. The RNC voted in 2022 to end its relationship with the nonpartisan system that has sponsored general election debates since the 1988 presidential campaign. Trump has since cleaned house at the RNC. More on that later. Biden's position. Biden only faced token primary opposition this year, and the Democratic National Committee didn't sponsor any primary debates. But he has remained coy about whether he will debate Trump in the general election. "I don't know if he's serious," Biden told CNN after the Gridiron dinner on Saturday when asked whether he expects to debate the former president ahead of the 2024 election. "I don't know if he's serious." Whether either man will show up to the debate stage is an open question, but there's a detailed plan for 3 presidential debates and a vice presidential one already in place from the Commission on Presidential Debates. It's a nonpartisan organization that has leaders from both sides of the political aisle and gets funding from the communities that host debates and also, to a lesser extent, from corporate, foundation, and private donors, per its website. For more on the context and history of presidential debates, I talked on the phone with 2 experts. Risky business on the campaign trail. He's also a professor emeritus of journalism at Northeastern University. Aaron Call is director of debate at the University of Michigan and editor of the book, Debating the Donald. Here's what to know about the U.S. presidential debate system. How did the system of debates come into being? The history in a nutshell is basically that there were 4 debates in 1960 between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon. Those were sponsored by the TV networks. And then there were no more until 1976. In '76, the president was Gerald Ford. He had come into office because of Nixon's resignation. So he was in kind of a weak position. He's the one that actually challenged Jimmy Carter to debates, and that set in place this tradition that has existed ever since then of presidential debates. There was one year, 1980, where there was only one debate between Ronald Reagan and Carter, but normally there are 2 or 3 presidential debates and 1 vice presidential debate per cycle. The other thing that has changed is the sponsorship. Since 1988, the Commission on Presidential Debates has been the sponsor of the debates. Before the commission was formed, debates were organized either by TV networks or between campaigns. Senator John F. Kennedy and Vice President Richard Nixon, right, participate in a presidential debate in Washington, D.C. in October 1960. Senator John F. Kennedy, left, and Vice President Richard Nixon, right, participate in a presidential debate in Washington, D.C. in October 1960. Bettman Archive/Getty Images. Where and when will the debates happen this year? While we don't yet know the exact format or topics for the debates or who will moderate them, the commission announced the schedule last November. There are legitimate questions about whether debates should happen earlier, particularly when so many voters now tend to cast early ballots, something the commission addressed by scheduling the final debate of the cycle for nearly a month before Election Day. The commission selects these debate locations after accepting bids from locations, which are almost always college campuses. Who can qualify to participate in the debates? The commission sets criteria for candidates to meet, and Republicans and Democrats are usually the only candidates to qualify. In the commission era, the only non-major party candidate to take part in debates was Ross Perot in 1992. Perot was not included when he ran again in 1996. Presidential candidates Bill Clinton, right, Ross Perot, center, and President George Bush, left, participate in a debate in 1992. Wally McNamee/Corbis, Getty Images. For a candidate like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or a Libertarian, Green Party, or no labels candidate to meet the threshold, he or she would have to be constitutionally eligible to serve as president, appear on the ballot in enough states to mathematically win the election, and get at least 15% support in national polling from 5 different polling organizations selected by the commission. Why are debates important? The beauty of debates is it's the only time during these lengthy, 2-year-long campaigns where you see the candidates next to each other and confronting each other. I think that's a really important piece of any election because it's so different from everything else. It's the one moment when the campaigns aren't in complete control, which is why candidates don't particularly like debates. Do debates change election outcomes or confirm the trajectory? Rather than change the outcome of the elections, debates tend to, as you said, confirm the existing perceptions that people have of candidates, especially in this day and age when, frankly, there aren't that many undecided voters left. What do debates accomplish? I think they motivate voters. Maybe you've already decided you prefer one candidate over the other. But does that mean you actually go out and vote? If you watch the debate and you're fired up by a strong performance or scared by what the other candidate is saying, then the debate could conceivably lead you to vote. We have to remember that the ratings for debates are enormous. Typically, in years when debates occur, they're the second highest rated programs after the Super Bowl. Smart politicians can use the debate as a platform in front of tens and tens of millions of people to overcome negative perceptions that exist about them, or conversely, to reinforce the negative perceptions about their opponents. Around 73 million people watched the first debate between Trump and Biden in 2020 when it was broadcast on 16 channels. Many more probably watched online or encountered snippets. A record 84 million watched the first debate between Trump and Hillary Clinton in 2016. Who have been notable debate winners and losers going back to the first one? Nixon. He was in a car accident and he didn't perform very well. People thought Kennedy looked better. Kennedy won. Note: Nixon was hospitalized for weeks before the debate due to an infection that developed after he hit his knee against a car door. Gerald Ford made a mistake about the Russian presence in Europe. Ford lost to Carter in 1976.